In 1815, the Tambora volcano in Indonesia erupted with such force that it caused one of the most catastrophic and deadliest disasters in recorded history. The eruption was so immense that its sound could be heard over 2,600 kilometers away. But the true impact wasn't immediately apparent. Instead, it left the entire world in shock as its after effects were felt years later. What if we told you that this single eruption changed the course of history, and if something like it happened today, it could dramatically alter the world as we know it? Would we be prepared for such a disaster? Let's dive into one of the most extraordinary events in history. The eruption of Mount Tambora was classified as VEI 7, which places it among the most powerful volcanic eruptions ever recorded. Tambora released 100 cubic kilometers of volcanic matter, including ash, gas, and aerosols, which was enough to block out the sun. This led to a global temperature drop of approximately 3 degrees Celsius, triggering a phenomenon known as the Year Without a Summer in 1816. This eruption was so severe that Europe, North America, and parts of Asia experienced unusually cold temperatures. In New England, snow fell in the middle of July, something completely unheard of. But the worst consequence of all was the devastation to global crops. Crops failed across many regions, particularly in Europe and the United States. In China, rice crops were destroyed and food shortages escalated. Europe witnessed widespread famine, which led to massive food riots. As a result, millions of people faced hunger and poverty. But Tambora didn't only change the climate, it also shaped the world of art and literature. Mary Shelley, writing in the aftermath of the eruption, took inspiration from the dark and cold atmosphere and went on to write her legendary novel, Frankenstein, a tale of creation, destruction, and the unknown. Her novel was directly influenced by the eerily somber environment she was living in, creating a powerful narrative in a time of crisis. The eruption of Tambora didn't just alter the climate, it altered human history. The question remains, if a similar eruption occurred in the modern world, what would happen? Would we be able to handle it better, or would it plunge us into chaos? Today, our world is far more interconnected than in the 19th century. Our economies, agriculture, and weather systems are all linked. A modern Tambora eruption would likely cause massive disruptions to the global food supply, severe climate shifts, and widespread economic collapse. Countries with large populations, especially those dependent on agriculture, would struggle to feed their citizens, and famine could become a serious threat. The modern world has the technology to forecast eruptions and study their effects, but would we really be prepared for something of this scale? In a world already facing climate change, economic inequality, and political instability, the consequences could be far-reaching and long-lasting. What do you think? If such an eruption were to happen today, how would the world cope? Could we adapt quickly enough to prevent widespread disaster, or would humanity be thrown into turmoil? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if you don't want to miss out on other fascinating historical events, make sure to subscribe.